Do you have a phone plan and a cable plan just so you can have an internet plan? Let's do that math. Phone plus cable plus internet equals internet? We're confused. Are you confused? If so, maybe you should just get pure, simple internet at google.com/fiber. Or not. Google Fiber. Refreshing internet.
Now what happens when you have a pen come in contact with the balloon? Watch this here. Did you hear that? Did you hear it? Second in the balloon did not pop.
Illmatic, this go crazy.
Woke up this morning feeling good. Baby, you can't tell me he ain't good. Food on my plate, eating good. Getting money like I should. God is great, won't he do it? God is great, even when we don't treat him like we should. He's so good, yeah. Sitting right up on the keys, preaching, turn to talk to me. Told me something that only God can see. I felt fire flowing through my veins. It was like the Holy Ghost shut up in my bones. Ooh, baby, you can't tell me he ain't real. All them sick people that he healed. I won't give up on God, that's on me, baby. I don't need no facade, that ain't me, baby. Gotta start giving my times, that's a need, baby. Then the money coming in, cheddar cheese, baby. Blessings knocking at my door, yeah, yeah. Blessing me to bless the poor, yeah, yeah. He taught me how to love and how to be down. Was there when I miss my shot just like a rebound. He always making waves, he always making plays. So you know why I said, hey. Woke up this morning feeling good, yeah. Baby, you can't tell me he ain't good. Food on my plate, eating good. Getting money like I should. God is great, won't he do it? Won't he do it? God is great, even when we don't treat him like we should. He's so good, yeah.
You the ruler, you're bigger than Buddha. When it's time to go to heaven, they gon' wish that they knew ya. And I keep you in my heart, that way I never lose ya. And you never ever change, despite the way that I do ya. I keep a Bible on my side, that's a strap on my hip. And I just gave my tithes, I ain't worried about the rent. I just might cop a new whip. Got 'em asking how you do this. Look, I just stick to the script. It's simple, give then you get. Life will go so quick, don't regret how you live. Yeah, your flow sounds sick, but how you impact the kids? Life is bigger than this, where your soul gonna rest. Put your faith to the test, God is better than best, yeah.
Woke up this morning feeling good, yeah. Baby, you can't tell me he ain't good. Food on my plate, eating good. Getting money like I should. God is great, won't he do it? Won't he do it? God is great, even when we don't treat him like we should. He's so good, yeah.
You don't need to try to justify it. You don't need to try to compete about it. And you don't need to understand it, but you do need to understand it by the sovereign goodness of God. You have escaped the sword when many others did not. Lift your hand and say, praise God, I'm alive.
Hola, do you love the Lord? Show enough.
Nesby, welcome to your 23rd Annual Golden Torch Awards. Thank you for joining us virtually. Now, let's get it started with hip-hop violinist Dominique Hammond. Here we go.
This year has been a phenomenal year for chapters and their programs. And now is the time that we recognize the best chapters for their work. This year's Distinguished Chapters of the Year are as follows. For Nesby Jr., the Nesby Jr. Chapter of the Year is A-Steam Village from Region 5.
Thanks, Lonnie. All right, y'all. We're going to get back to some good music. I'm pretty sure y'all going to be familiar with this next tune right here. This is Beyonce's version of Before I Let Go. So I'm going to need everybody to get up and dance, man. Here we go.
origin of the phoenix all ends with beginnings. What keeps the planet spinning? The force from the beginning. Love. We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the bar and our cups to the stars. She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 The present has no ribbon. Your gift keeps on giving. What is this I'm feeling? If you wanna leave, I'm with it. We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the bar and our cups to the stars. She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up all night to get lucky.
We're up all night to get. 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 We're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up all night to get lucky.
been so many times that I've cried and I said, I just can't do it. But something inside me kept saying, go on, keep pushing, keep doing. Everything's gonna be okay. And today I just hope that I can inspire you to do the same. You feel me? Huh? Have you ever had your dreams in your hand to have them all taken away? Have you ever taken 2 steps to be knocked back 5? You're praying for another break. Have you ever cried 'cause you're tired of trying, and deep inside you feel you're getting nowhere? I've been there, praying, Lord, I just need the strength to stay. Can I stand with the key in my hand at the door of the rest of my life? I'm afraid to leave my past behind, 'cause I don't know what's on the other side. I know I gotta to see what the end's gonna be. I gotta pressing toward my destiny. I gotta to make it, to take it, pushing on faithfully. 'Cause I'm pushing me. Has there ever been someone that you loved who said that it couldn't be done? And does your chest ever hurt from the stress that you feel when you try to please everyone? Something inside to fuel your fire. Your heart's desire has to burn within. Hold on, it won't be long. So get up on your feet and stand. I stand with the key in my hand at the door of the rest of my life. I'm afraid to leave my past behind, 'cause I don't know what's on the other side. I know I gotta to see what the end's gonna be. I gotta pressing toward my destiny. I gotta to make it, to take it, pushing on faithfully. 'Cause I believe I'm gonna keep. I told myself and what I want, moving mountains, pressing toward it's mine, it's mine, to see what the end's gonna be. Pressing towards my destiny, to make it, to take it, pushing on faithfully. I stand with a key in my hand at the door of the rest of my life. I'm afraid to leave my past behind, 'cause I don't know what's on the other side. I know I gotta to see what the end's gonna be. I gotta pressing toward my destiny. I gotta to make it, to take it, pushing on faithfully. 'Cause I'm pushing me.
Hey, my name is Tony. I'm currently a sophomore at Arizona State University, majoring in automotive engineering. I have been involved in a STEAM Village since its founding, until I graduated high school in the year of 2019 from Lincoln College Preparatory Academy. STEAM Village has provided me with the skills needed to be a successful engineering student. This program has helped me build my character by motivating me to try new things. The STEAM Village is the best career and education readiness program of today. Hope you all have a great night, and go Chiefs!
Hello, my name is Deliana Malpia. I am a sophomore at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. I first came in contact with the STEAM Village and the National Society of Black Engineers in 2019 as a camp lead. A STEAM Village holds a very special place in my heart. When I came to a STEAM Village, I was in my second year of college as a nursing student. After just one summer with the STEAM Village and the people that they introduced me to, I changed my major to engineering. This program has introduced me to so many people, my mentors, and a community that I could be a part of. A STEAM Village also allowed me to work with children and inspire them. This program is something I've never experienced before and was the best experience of my life so far. I can't wait to see the growth and impact they have on our community and our youth.
Hello, I'm Stephen Gyllenhaal, the director of Uncharitable. To be honest, when I started shooting it, I really had no idea how making Uncharitable would impact me and how I hope it will impact you. Nothing I've ever directed has come to mean as much to me because of how it has already begun to change the world for the better. And honestly, we've just gotten going. So I'm proud and honored to be presenting Uncharitable to you today. Afterwards, there will be a follow-up from our team with everything that's happening now. We're about to change the world, and I hope, after watching the movie, you'll join us. Thank you.
I have a vague recollection, a body memory of balance. I remember my dad, pushing me up and down the street. That's a feeling of transformation, balance, when you've never known balance. It's like a sixth sense almost. How is it possible to get to a world where there's a balance of compassion and consumption? What is a world that works for everyone? What does that world look like? How do impossible things get achieved? How do you coordinate it?
Increasingly around the world, governments are reducing their commitment to things that are so important.
And most businesses end up drilling down to a single question: how can we increase profit? But in the nonprofit space, people are asking a whole set of different questions.
We're picking up that middle part that private industry won't pay for and your tax dollars won't pay for. And it turns out that's a lot.
We're trying to address income inequality. We're trying to house the homeless.
Feeding the world sustainably, addressing climate change.
COVID, malaria, malnutrition.
The horrors of war, racism, gender bias,
sexual violence,
poverty.
The clock is ticking. We don't have a lot of time.
Why have our breast cancer charities not come close to finding a cure for breast cancer, or our homeless charities not come close to ending homelessness in any major city? Why has poverty remained stuck at 12% of the U.S. population for 40 years? I do believe that business will move the great mass of humanity forward, but it always leaves behind that 10% or more that is most disadvantaged or unlucky. And so if we really want, like Buckminster Fuller said, a world that works for everyone, with no one and nothing left out, then the nonprofit sector has to be a serious part of the conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Pallotta.
Dan brought the heat on behalf of all of us. He's the guy that stood on that TED stage and said what we've all wanted to say.
That talk I would rank as one of the single most persuasive talks that TED has ever had, in terms of just shifting people's minds.
Frankly, you talk to almost any nonprofit leader in the country, and Dan Pallotta and his work is a touchstone for them.
If there's a reason like Dan's original TED Talk lit up so much, is that there's a real impatience in it. It's like saying we've got to get beyond prejudicial ideas about what charity was.
Once upon a time, I had this beautiful company that created these long journeys for heroic civic engagement. We had 182,000 ordinary heroes participate, and they raised a total of $581 million. They raised more money more quickly for these causes than any events in history, all based on the idea that people are weary of being asked to do the least they can possibly do. And then we went out of business, suddenly and traumatically. Why?
Nonprofits are very vulnerable because it's hard for us to tell our story.
The conversation just hasn't been framed, until the work Dan has been doing in the right way.
One of the big influences in my life was Buckminster Fuller. He was a mathematician and philosopher who wrote about Spaceship Earth. He was very futuristic. And one day I was giving a speech at Harvard, and the guy who was hosting the speech told me, Bucky Fuller is buried at the Mount Auburn Cemetery. And I said, no way, in Cambridge. I said, can we go over there? And we went over there, and he showed me Bucky's grave. And Bucky's grave says, call me Trim Tab. And a trim tab is a little rudder on a rudder. So if you got a big ship, say the size of this desk, and then you got a rudder that's supposed to turn the ship, well, that rudder is hard to turn. But if you put a little rudder on the rudder, it makes this rudder easier to turn. And a trim tab for him was a metaphor for the difference that one individual can make, that one individual can be a trim tab on a larger system that ultimately can topple or recreate or reinvent the larger system.
Our Buckminster Fuller has been called the Leonardo da Vinci of our time. He's invented the geodesic dome, authored 18 books, was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, And we're delighted to have you join us. Do you feel there's a lot that we as individuals can do to make the world better?
I claim that there's nothing special about me. I'm quite confident there's nothing I've done that others can't do equally well or better.
Each of us is special in exactly the same way that Bucky is special.
While I grew up in the 60s, it was John Kennedy talking about going to the moon. It was Neil Armstrong walking on the moon. It was Martin Luther King talking about justice. It was Robert F. Kennedy talking about love. I mean, the Attorney General talking about love. So I think I grew up with this sense that you ought to make the world a better place.
A while ago, it was you or me. If there was just so much to go around, and I had to make sure that I and my family and my friends got taken care of, and there was a little left over, then you could have it. That is absolutely lethal kind of thinking today. That will destroy the planet today because it's no longer true. What will make the planet work today is that it has to work for everybody or it works for no one.
When Werner Erhard set a deadline for the end of hunger, that was exciting to me. It shifted it to a possibility. Oh my God, we could be the generation that ends hunger on the planet.
Let's talk about how this project got started, Dan. Why the bicycle ride?
Well, we at the Harvard Hunger Action Committee had been working for about 4 years with an organization called Oxfam America, participating in what they call their Fast for a World Harvest, where students at school would give up a meal, and the university would donate the money that was raised to Oxfam America. And we just felt like we were capable of doing something bigger, you know, that given the issue of hunger, the fact that there are 28 people dying every minute from this, that we could make a bigger contribution. We took a 6-hour flight from Boston to Seattle and then spent the next 9.5 weeks pedaling our bikes 4,200 miles across the continental United States. Yeah, this was like getting cleaned up on an outdoor water spigot. A lot of flat tires. We raised, I think, $80,000 on that ride. I remember feeling that I had landed on something important and that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to build community like this. I wanted to give people experiences like this, but that little voice in my head said, yeah, there's no industry like that. So I had a job working for a state senator in Massachusetts. You know, I thought politics, that's how I'm gonna make a difference in the world. That's how I'm gonna change things. And I did that for 6 or 8 months. And that was a tough period too.
Why?
Because I was gay and there were no out gay politicians. And when I came out to my parents, they were so depressed. You're never gonna have a family. You're gonna be ridiculed by your society. And so I quit my job and I moved to California to pursue a career in music. He was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home. Looking at it from my age now, I just wanted to get away from something that was suffocating me. I guess maybe I felt I could find a freedom to express myself creatively in California that I couldn't do here.
27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before. He left yesterday behind him. We might say he was born again. Might say he found the key.
But it was the height of the AIDS epidemic. It was before these life-saving drugs called protease inhibitors had been developed. And in those days, a friend would tell you he was HIV positive, as some of you know, and 6 weeks later, he'd be dead. And you'd be meeting his parents for the first time at his funeral. And you were going to a lot of funerals. And you were meeting a lot of parents without their 26-year-old sons there to introduce you to them. Rick Swyka and Timmy Hamby and Freddie Hoke and Bobby Miles and Chris Ricella and Daryl Peck and Gabe Crooks and just a lot of people, you know. These guys were my family. These were guys I didn't have to hide from, and they didn't have to hide from me. there was just so much grief. My own grief, the grief of my friends, and the grief that lived in thousands of people in that community in West Hollywood that I didn't even know, and thousands of people in other major American cities, let alone the rest of the world.
And I couldn't understand why there wasn't anything big that the average person could do about AIDS.
You know, you could stick a red ribbon on your jacket, but I never forgot the power of that cross-country bike ride and the power of a journey as a metaphor for so many things. And one day I said to my friend, that's it, we're gonna organize the AIDS ride.
San Francisco was the starting gate for a unique sporting event today.
Hundreds of cyclists finish a deeply personal mission as they join together to ride for a cure.
It was a 7-day bike ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and you had to go the whole 7 days. You had to go the whole 600 miles. You had to sleep in a tent overnight for 6 nights, and you had to raise a minimum of $2,000 in order to do it, and that was different. That had never been done before.
And then it really grew. 478 riders on the first one, and then 1,800 riders on the next one, and that was just a year later.
1,800 sponsored people on bicycles.
Ordinary people
Pick up the pace to help AIDS victims.
We began expanding the AIDS rides all over the United States, and we did them from Austin to Dallas and across Montana and across Alaska and from the Twin Cities to Chicago and Boston to New York.
I've been positive for 15 years now, and this is my 4th AIDS ride.
We are all in this together. There are people out there that are really trying to help.
It really hits home.
And then in the midst of that, we began to look at the issue of breast cancer, which was similar in that people were losing their daughters and their wives and their mothers. My mom, thank God, is a long-term breast cancer survivor.
And so we created this 60-mile-long walk called the Breast Cancer 3-Day from Santa Barbara to Malibu. It was 4 times as successful as the first AIDS ride, and so we began expanding all over the United States.
Dan Pallotta certainly broke a lot of people's minds open into realizing was that you can convert activity that's not traditionally associated with fundraising. You can turn a race into a fundraiser. You can turn almost anything into a fundraiser.
And we had this mantra, human, kind, be both. And people really took us up on this, so much so that if you got a flat tire on the AIDS ride, you had trouble fixing it because there were so many people there asking you if you needed help. 2002 was our most successful year ever. We netted for breast cancer that year alone $71 million after all expenses.
This company was like my child, because I didn't think I'd ever have children of my own. My parents would come out and volunteer on the events for days on end. The participants loved them. The participants actually became an extension of my own family. I mortgaged my home to get the money to stage the first Alaska AIDS vaccine ride. I put almost everything the company had made for 8 years into a new headquarters that could help us to grow and do even more remarkable events and campaigns. I thought, we just did this incredible thing. Everything about it is positive. Isn't this awesome? Now there's this reporter who wants to stir up some trouble.
People who run the Pallotta TeamWorks organization, and again, the executives of this company are getting another charity under fire, the Pallotta TeamWorks company. Basically, Pallotta is telling Americans, hey, you go out, you raise the money for every mile you walk, people give you money, you give it to us, we give it to AIDS and breast cancer. However, they're not giving it, they're only giving 30% of it.
This is just recklessly not factual. 100% of the money we raised went directly to the charities into lockboxes, bank lockboxes that the charities controlled. And they then paid our small fee out of that, which was 4% of revenues, not 70%. And we were incredibly transparent about that. We posted all of the event fees and expenses on our website for everyone to see. They are still there to this day.
So despite that, our sponsors split on us. They wanted to distance themselves from us because we were being crucified in the media for investing in recruitment and customer service and the magic of the experience. And there is no accounting terminology to describe that kind of investment in growth and in the future other than this demonic label of overhead. So what is overhead? Well, it's things like chief executives, support staff, furniture, utilities, receptionists, phones, computers, legal counsel, insurance, rent, the basics of management, print, radio, TV advertising, PR and social media staff, website designers, postage for direct mail, everything you need to strategize, things like impact assessment and data analysis for improvement, special event expenses, a fundraising staff to actually ask people for donations so you can grow to approach anything close to the scale of the problem you're actually trying to solve. So on one day, all 350 of our great employees lost their jobs because they were labeled overhead. Some of the charities went off and tried to replicate our results on their own. What they did was lowered their marketing budgets. When you cut marketing budgets, you're essentially cutting the ability to go out and ask more people for money. When Washington, D.C. tried it, revenues plummeted and overhead skyrocketed to 89%. When one of the California charities tried it, overhead went up, net revenue dropped by $4.4 million in 1 year. They had to lay off 55 employees who were serving people with AIDS, and the executive director resigned. With the Avon breast cancer 3 days, it was way worse.
We know we at least have $4 million in net. We think we're going to probably approach $5 million or more. We're still tallying all the dollars.
So net income for breast cancer research went down by 84% or $60 million in 1 year. This is what happens when we confuse morality with frugality. We're building this magical thing that creates community and brings people together and transforms people's lives and helps people who are HIV positive get involved in something that connects them to other human beings and allows them to express their sorrow and their grief, that allows women who are breast cancer survivors to meet other breast cancer survivors. It was this beautiful, magical thing in a world of war and greed and consumption, and it gets destroyed.
There is no doubt that the media has contributed to much of the unfair narrative that has existed for too long.
There was nobody left. Everybody was laid off. And, pretty soon there were liquidators in there taking the taking all the furniture, my desk, employees asking if they could buy furniture because they wanted to start their own businesses. I got, nasty letters from people. One guy wrote to me saying, "No wonder your lover committed suicide,"
Your lover committed suicide?
He was adorable and he was smart. Now, we had planned to spend a lifetime together. He was living with me at my house, but he still had his apartment, and he suffocated himself. What a horrible way for you to die. There's this darkness and this sense of betrayal, and this incredible sense of loss. You lose your lover, and then you lose your company, what's left? I just think that period was so dark that back then I couldn't even label it. I didn't even recognize that I was feeling hopeless. Well, the spirit of the dead running around my head. I wish you were here.
There have been other instances where organizations who were doing outstanding work, but because they had a big budget were pilloried in the media unfairly, unjustly, and ultimately it served to harm the very people who these organizations were set up to help.
Millions spent on travel, conventions, lobbying fees, all are raising major eyebrows among senators. And this time it's not corporate executives in their sights, but rather executives of a very popular and long-standing charity.
The president of the nonprofit organization has a base salary of $360,000, a performance bonus of an additional $150,000.
The senators are also questioning why the executive spent several million on travel for conventions and for meetings.
Roxanne Spillett had tripled network-wide revenues from $500 million a year to $1.5 billion a year and had doubled the number of kids served.
We started clubs on Native American lands, arguably the most forgotten children in America. We have over 200 clubs on Native American lands. We decided that we needed to be in public housing, so we opened 500 clubs in public housing. With Desert Storm, we made a commitment to military families, and now we have a Boys and Girls Club on every single military base here in the United States and across the world.
So imagine if you went out and you found a CEO for $200,000. You just saved $600,000 on fat cat executive compensation, and that's $600,000 that can now go to the boys and girls. But what if this new CEO is incapable of increasing revenue? So you just gained $600,000 in compensation savings and lost $1 billion annually in revenue.
In the business world, there's this simple idea that if you want to hire the best people, you kind of have to pay them what they're worth. And if you want to get stuff done, you do actually have to hire the best people to do it.
We have two rule books. We have one for the nonprofit sector and one for the rest of the economic world. And it discriminates against the nonprofit sector in 5 different areas, the first being compensation. So in the for-profit sector, the more value you produce, the more money you can make. But we don't like nonprofits to use money to incentivize people to produce more in social service.
I always trip out on that. Like, there's some funders that say, oh, well, we want this to go to programs, right? And you can't put anything there for salaries. You just can't do it in your budget, the budget that you submit for the proposal. And I'm like, who do you think runs the programs, you know? Like, who do you think runs the programs? Who do you think designed the programs? Who do you think's out on the street building the pipeline so people can actually benefit from the programs?
And we think of this as our system of ethics, but what we don't realize is that this system has a powerful side effect and sends tens of thousands of people who could make a huge difference in the nonprofit sector, marching every year directly into the for-profit sector because they're not willing to make that kind of lifelong economic sacrifice.
At least once a week, I have a conversation with somebody who says, oh my gosh, I would love to come work with you. I can't take a nonprofit salary.
If you have a rule that you will only pay a development director like a certain amount of money, even if they're an absolute rock star who literally 2 or 3 X's the financial capacity of your organization because they're so smart, you're just not going to get the most talented people.
The public policy official said to me, nobody in your job needs to make more than $65,000 a year. And I said, I'm running a $100 million operation. And he said, doesn't matter. It's a nonprofit. You ought not make more than that.
We have a visceral reaction to the idea that anyone would make very much money helping other people. Interesting that we don't have a visceral reaction to the notion that people would make a lot of money not helping other people. You want to make $50 million selling violent video games to kids, go for it. We'll put you on the cover of Wired magazine. But you want to make $500,000 trying to cure kids of malaria, and you're considered a parasite yourself.
People like their charity workers poor. It's just the reality. And unfortunately, so many people in the social sector, you just sign up for that.
We will not be fulfilling our mission if we did not treat our employees the same way that we're asking other companies to treat the people that work for them. Our employees, they have master's degrees, they have committed themselves to do this work, they have invested in their education to be able to do this work, and why would we then have them come to us and sacrifice all of that? They have student loans, they have families to feed. We're essentially creating the same clients with our employees if we do not pay them fair salaries.
Business Week did a survey, looked at the compensation packages for MBAs 10 years out of business school. And the median compensation for a Stanford MBA with bonus at the age of 38 was $400,000. Meanwhile, for the same year, the average salary for the CEO of a $5 million plus medical charity in the US was $232,000, and for a hunger charity, $84,000. Now, there's no way you're going to get a lot of people with $400,000 talent to make a $316,000 sacrifice every year to become the CEO of a hunger charity. Some people say, well, that's just because those MBA types are greedy. Not necessarily. They might be smart. It's cheaper for that person to donate $100,000 every year to the hunger charity, save $50,000 on their taxes, so still be roughly $270,000 a year ahead of the game, now be called a philanthropist because they donated $100,000 to charity, probably sit on the board of the hunger charity, indeed probably supervise the poor SOB who decided to become the CEO of the hunger charity, and have a lifetime of this kind of power and influence and popular praise still ahead of them. The second area of discrimination is advertising and marketing. So we tell the for-profit sector, spend, spend, spend on advertising until the last dollar no longer produces a penny of value. But we don't like to see our donations spent on advertising and charity. Our attitude is, well, look, if you can get the advertising donated, at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm okay with that. But I don't want my donation spent on advertising. I want it to go to the needy. As if the money invested in advertising could not bring in dramatically greater sums of money to serve the needy. In 2016, Save the Children spent about $5.4 million on advertising, trying to bring in new donors so that they could save more children. McDonald's, $1.4 billion trying to build market demand for kids to buy more Happy Meals. In 2016, Susan Komen spent about $1 million on advertising and had been criticized for it, saying this is unconscionable. This is money that people donated expecting it to go to breast cancer research, and they squandered over $1 million on flashy, egoic advertising. Meanwhile, L'Oreal spent $1.9 billion trying to build market demand for consumers to buy more cosmetics and beauty products. In 2016, Feeding America spent about $3.2 million on advertising. M&M Mars, $1.1 billion trying to build market demand for kids to buy more candy. Charitable giving has remained stuck in the U.S. at 2% of GDP ever since we started measuring it in the 1970s. That's an important fact because it tells us that in 40 years, the nonprofit sector has not been able to wrestle any market share away from the for-profit sector. And if you think about it, how could one sector possibly take market share away from another sector if it isn't really allowed to market? And if we tell the consumer brands, you may advertise all the benefits of your product, but we tell charities, you cannot advertise all the good that you do, where do we think the consumer dollars are going to flow? We hypnotize people in consumption, and we don't let the nonprofit sector indoctrinate people in compassion.
I remember at the time when the group of filmmakers had basically created a media company to build global awareness, to build a movement, to raise awareness for an issue that nobody was talking about.
Well, not so long ago, very few people had heard of African warlord Joseph Kony. Today, he's a household name thanks to a 30-minute internet movie that in the last 7 days has racked up 112 million views.
They were mobilizing youth to care about a very difficult issue. A warlord from the Lord's Resistance Army in Acholi land, northern Uganda on the Sudan border. And I remember just falling in love with the passion, the vision, the filmmaking, the immediacy, the urgency of it.
We fear that if we sleep at our home, we can be abducted by the rebels.
I couldn't believe that over 2 million people were dead. 2 million?
right now as we live and breathe, but it was getting this much news.
In his 26-year campaign, Coney has kidnapped more than 65,000 boys and girls.
So we just decided to make Coney famous. That was the only intention for the movie, was like, make Coney famous enough so that the world will respond. We just decided, okay, we'll start a nonprofit, but we're gonna treat the nonprofit, the culture, and the way we do things much more like a business and not like a nonprofit. The movies and the media led the way. We wanted flash in our media and on our website and at our events.
Nonprofits have to sell themselves. And it's competitive.
We're competing with Apple, McDonald's, Coca-Cola for mind share of the same customers and of the same people. Whether those people are consumers or donors or investors, we're all trying to compete for their attention and their time.
We wanted to take the conflict and have it pop online, have it really reach as many people as possible emotionally and logically. And the only way we felt to do that was to simplify it. And the only way to simplify it, in our opinion, was to tell it to a 5-year-old. My son Gavin I've never really explained to him what I do. He knows I work in Africa, but he doesn't know what the war's about or who Joseph Coney is. So I'm gonna explain it to him for the first time. This is the guy, Joseph Coney.
You're the bad guy?
Yeah. It was 1 million views an hour. Just click, click, click. And I remember in my neighborhood in San Diego, Coney 2012 printout stickers on the bus stops. I was driving around like, people are doing it. They're doing it.
US Charities internet campaign to bring accused Ugandan war criminal Joseph Coney.
You've most likely seen this video online.
Close to 1 million hits.
It's gone viral.
100 million people have
and
now.
Even the State Department is paying attention.
This is the new way to move the world to action.
Ugandan rebel leader Joseph Coney is now the most viral video in history.
I'd done a dozen interviews in LA and then took a red eye to New York, got off the plane, and went straight to another dozen interviews back to back to back to back to back.
And I think we might look back on this week as the week when everything changed for bad guys around the world who could no longer hide.
We should make this a moment where we say that everyone who gets indicted for genocide or war crimes or crimes against humanity, we're going to go after them and we're going to bring them to justice. Right. That would be a great day.
Right. And yeah, it was just so beautiful for like 3 days. It was just like, everything we've worked for is here. And online writers knew that if they could write anything controversial about Coney 2012, they would get millions and millions of clicks. So everyone was at the game of like, how do we find out something bad about Invisible Children, Jason Russell, or Coney 2012?
You think we're gonna go into Africa, get rid of one warlord, and all of a sudden there's gonna be utopia on the freaking continent?
Feeling like these fabulous humanitarians for sharing a video on Facebook.
Who am I gonna believe now, man?
Yeah. And then the news is like, oh, controversy? Perfect. Let's talk about this.
Critics say the film manipulates the facts.
Simplifying this, taking a name off of other people's plight. Utterly naive to
this will be a passing fad.
These white Westerners sort of getting on a bandwagon.
Where's the money going?
It was just like, where's the money? Where's money? And we're like, go on our website. It's right there. And then it was like, how dare you spend 20% on media and filmmaking. And I remember the overhead conversation was such a big part of that. Oh, well, do you know, I forget the ratio, but so much of their money is going to media and buying cameras. I'm like, well, that was the whole point. They told everyone this. That is them accomplishing their mission.
And this is what you do to anyone who starts to get big. You go after them and you try to expose them. That's where my anxiety's been coming from. Total fear. Like fear, it's all in my head.
Yeah.
And it's been so gnarly.
Again, man, it's hard. You just sound really different. Like something's up. Like maybe we need to go and sleep. And,
I know. I can't sleep.
Yeah.
No one could talk me down off that ledge because I was like, you don't understand what I'm experiencing. And they're trying to say what you're experiencing is something unhealthy. There's something in your brain that can snap, and it did.
Breaking news tonight on one of the filmmakers behind Coney 2012. The man behind it has been picked up by police and taken to the hospital today. An official familiar with the case confirms that Jason Russell...
People saw the man naked and screaming.
...the streets of San Diego yesterday.
Jason Russell suffered from a psychotic breakdown.
In a sense, like Coney 2012 became this meme and this symbol of a joke or a scam or something that failed to the internet culture and to millennials. At the end of the day, I'm still very proud of what was accomplished. It's the first time that someone from Uganda has spoken about the war to the Foreign Relations Committee. Obama spoke about it several times. But I think on the ground, it's like the most important part, the fact that 4 out of the 5 top commanders surrendered or were removed from the battlefield. One of the things we did, which is radical, is build a radio network to communicate in real time to prevent violence, but it was helping a whole array of other things too. And they're doing so well that Invisible Children got a grant from USAID. So the work on the ground continues on. But it does hurt, as well.
99.99% of nonprofits go about their business every day serving the American public. But we read about nonprofits mostly through the lens of scandal.
You're the nearest authority figure. You're within arm's reach, and the expectation of what a CEO of a nonprofit organization is supposed to provide, it's very high.
The third area of discrimination is the taking of risk in pursuit of new ideas for generating revenue. So Disney can make a new $200 million movie that flops, and nobody calls the Attorney General.
How is this a good idea?
Tomorrowland lost $140 million. The Lone Ranger, $150 million. John Carter, an estimated $200 million. But you do a little $1 million community fundraiser for the poor, and it doesn't produce a 75% profit to the cause in the first 12 months, and your character's called into question. So nonprofits are really reluctant to attempt any brave, daring, giant-scale new fundraising endeavors for fear that if the thing fails, their reputations will be dragged through the mud.
The thing that makes me nuts is we're all playing it safe. Kids are dying. The environment's going to hell in a handbag, and we're playing it safe. We're playing it safe on the nonprofit side, and we're playing it safe on the philanthropy side, on both sides.
Accepting risk, getting excited by risk, recognizing that without daring to fund things boldly, none of them are going to break through.
And for example, Apollo was a program where we ran the risk of failing on a massive scale in front of the whole world, having human beings stranded in space or their bodies stranded in space for decades, something that nobody would ever forget. But we took that risk. We have actually made it a liability to dream in the nonprofit sector. In some cases, a criminal liability. You come up with some big new idea and it fails, you're looking at the Attorney General knocking on your door. Think about the implications of making it quasi-illegal to dream in the nonprofit sector. The fourth area is time. So Amazon went for 6 years without returning any profit to investors, and people had patience. They knew that there was a long-term objective down the line of building market dominance. But if a nonprofit organization ever had a dream of building magnificent scale that required that for 6 years, no money was going to go to the needy, it was all going to be invested in building this scale, we would expect a crucifixion.
None of these problems can be solved overnight. They can't be solved in a year. They can't be solved in 2 years. I'd written a book called The Cathedral Within, using cathedral builders as a metaphor for how we work on something our whole lifetime without necessarily seeing it finished, which was the case with the cathedral builders. That's going to be true of most work in the nonprofit sector. So you've got to have a long-range view.
I wish I had some time to think. I just haven't had time. You know why? Because most of the time I'm stressed out about trying to figure out how I could just maintain what we got. My colleagues here are gifted thinkers and writers and strategists and are thinking about the bigger picture. My colleague Lyric, who's an amazing policy thinker, and imagine if we said, you know what, Lyric, you're special. We need to give you $500,000, and all the time you need to learn to think and to create something that's going to solve the housing crisis.
And the last area is profit itself. So the for-profit sector can pay people profits in order to attract their capital for their new ideas, but you can't pay profits in a non-profit sector. So the for-profit sector has a lock on the multi-trillion-dollar capital markets, and the non-profit sector is starved for growth and risk and idea capital.
Late 2013, one of the companies in our city went public and they had their IPO, and I was so jealous. It's like, how do they get to access the capital markets and we have to go beg for every dollar we get?
We need to change these laws that still perpetuate some of these systems, but we also have to take it upon ourselves to get capital into the hands of people right now. So we spend a lot of time here at Inclusive Action in making sure that entrepreneurs and families in our communities have access to capital so they can build businesses and take care of their kids.
The motive to make money is a powerful galvanizer of capital. The motive to help other people is just more amorphous and more diffuse.
But how do we unlock some of that capital? How do we incentivize growth for the social sector, for nonprofits, in the same way that we glorify it when it comes to the companies that are IPOing?
These are multi-billion-dollar problems, for Christ's sake, that we're trying to address. They need multi-billion-dollar organizations.
I have been drawn to the nonprofit sector because I think it is the place where you can experiment and do creative things. If there were more capital, the amount of innovation that you could drive out of this sector would be incredible.
Well, you put those 5 things together, you can't use money to lure talent away from the for-profit sector. You can't advertise on anywhere near the scale the for-profit sector does for new customers. You can't take the kinds of risks in pursuit of those customers that the for-profit sector takes. You don't have the same amount of time to find them as the for-profit sector, and you don't have a stock market with which to fund any of this, even if you could do it in the first place. And you've just put the nonprofit sector at an extreme disadvantage to the for-profit sector on every level. If we have any doubts about the effects of this separate rulebook, this statistic is sobering. From 1970 to 2009, the number of nonprofits that really grew, that crossed the $50 million annual revenue barrier, is 144. In the same time, the number of for-profits that crossed it is 46,136. So we're dealing with social problems that are massive in scale, and our organizations can't generate any scale. All of the scale goes to Coca-Cola and Burger King. So why do we think this way? Well, like most fanatical dogma in America, these ideas come from old Puritan beliefs. The Puritans came here for religious reasons, or so they said, but they also came here because they wanted to make a lot of money. But at the same time, the Puritans were Calvinists. So they were taught literally to hate themselves, that self-interest was a raging sea that was a sure path to eternal damnation. Well, this created a real problem for these people. Right here, they've come all the way across the Atlantic to make all this money. Making all this money will get you sent directly to hell.
John Winthrop, who was the first governor of Massachusetts, he delivered a speech that Ronald Reagan made famous about a shining city on the hill. It was actually called a model of Christian charity.
And somewhere in that speech, he talks about how the Lord God hath ordained that in all times some must be privileged and rich and powerful, you know, the haves, and that at all times some must also be the have-nots. Because if there weren't any have-nots, you could never prove to God that you were worthy of heaven by helping out the have-nots. Well, charity became their answer. It became this economic sanctuary where they could do penance for their profit-making tendencies. So, of course, how could you make money in charity if charity was your penance for making money? Financial incentive was exiled from the realm of helping others so that it could thrive in the area of making money for yourself. And in 400 years, nothing has intervened to say that's counterproductive and that's unfair. And so you see the Puritan influence even in Hollywood today.
That movie Elysian with Matt Damon, there was like a small group of rich people that had everything. They had their own bubble, and then everybody else was left with nothing.
The Matrix and Fight Club expressed our anxieties about dystopia in which we all feel less than and debased.
Mad Max or Waterworld. You know, if you look at all of our movies about the future, it's always dark and post-apocalyptic. We're dreaming creatures. We have very powerful imaginations, and we had better be careful because it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy of everlasting poverty, disparity, and doom.
Drop it there!
This Puritan ideology and this separate rule book get policed by this one very dangerous question, which is what percentage of my donation goes to the cause versus overhead?
A CBS News investigation has exposed questionable spending practices within one of the most prominent charities for wounded veterans.
Spending has skyrocketed since Stephen Nardizzi took over as CEO. Charity watchdogs say that only 54 to 60% of donations go to help wounded service members. Nardizzi says the more money the charity raises, the more money it can spend on veterans.
Growing up, I'd seen enough struggles in my life that I thought I could probably do something to make life easier on someone else. Ultimately, I landed a job at a charity. It was a group that was a chapter of Paralyzed Veterans of America. My dad and his brother, Ozzy, served in World War II. And I remember once I was visiting my uncle. I was probably 16. And I came across an old photo of a group of men that he served with. I said, do you keep in contact with any of the guys in this photo? And he said, no, they all died there. You could see the emotion welling up in him about the friends he had lost. You can't go through war, see the death of people around you, kill people yourself, and if you're already in a fragile mental state, that's going to impact you. My uncle was violent with his family at times. He would break things, he would yell, he'd get in fistfights with my dad. He would have more and more episodes where he would be prone to fits of violence. They would give him meds and they would send him home, and there was never any kind of feeling of urgency around doing something with him. On his last really violent episode, they brought him into the hospital with his wife and begged them to admit him, and they did not. And then he went back that night and he actually killed her. I believe he had a psychotic break, and I was horrified by the fact that he had done this terrible thing. And then part of me felt bad for him that, like, my God, but it's not like he made a choice.
We have another passenger plane hitting the World Trade Center.
I think the biggest sea change in my career came right after 9/11. I remember standing on the roof after the second plane had hit, and then the notion of, oh God, we're gonna go to war. Those young men and women are gonna come back, and now you're gonna be 18 years old, you're gonna have a severe disability where there's not really a system set up to help you get well again. That's really what got myself and some friends thinking, we're gonna have to do something differently, because as a country, we were not prepared at that point to take care of another generation of veterans coming back injured. In 2003, we founded Wounded Warrior Project. Just a handful of us doing this work, being able to get out in front of a handful of warriors. And by 2008, we had grown from really grassroots, kind of pass the hat around, all of us shaking down, friends and family saying, give some money, to a fundraising program that was raising about $18 million. It's So on the one hand, we felt blessed that we were having that level of success and able to help the numbers we were helping. But the reality was we were so far behind the curve. If you're going to try and grow at that type of pace, then that meant asking a lot of people. It meant mass marketing. And I remember it was a tough decision. We took all of the extra money that we were going to put towards programs that following year, and we put it into fundraising. And I knew from a short-term view, this is going to be horrible, because that means that's every dollar I take out of could go into program means $1 less helping someone this year. We had told our program staff after we had this conversation that you're going to have to wait at least a year before we're going to really see the benefits of this fundraising that we're doing, this increased fundraising. And we got really fortunate that within 6 months, we were already seeing the return from that. And so we were reopening our program budget and adding more money to the program budget again. And then after that was amazing, the growth that we had. Let's change a generation wasn't a dream anymore. We were feeling like this is a reality. We can actually do this.
Here's what's miraculous. As of 2006, they were spending $1.5 million on fundraising. It was generating $10 million in revenue, left them with $5.6 million for programs. 2015, Wounded Warrior Project spent $74 million on fundraising. That was generating $400 million in revenue, with $262 million available for veterans. And I can tell you, there's only one way to get quickly to that $400 million, and that's by going through that process, that town called $74 million spent on fundraising.
The New York Times piece, when it came out, the only notion was well, they spend a lot of fundraising and they invest a lot in their salaries and they spend a lot on overhead.
Why is spending more money on overhead bad? I don't get it.
If you don't think you need to spend the money on overhead and you want, for example, 100% of that dollar to go to the homeless person, you could just walk out on the street and shower the street with dollars. If you were to take it to its logical conclusion, we wouldn't need a nonprofit sector.
When you say, I've got to keep the overhead low, you undermine the ability of the organization to attract the right staff, to be able to make the right kind of decisions, to have the right kind of resources.
Financial records show, compared to similar charities, the Wounded Warrior Project spends far less on the vets themselves.
Again, blatantly false. She's using percentages, not dollars. It's like a parlor trick designed to deceive donors. Wounded Warrior Project gave $262 million to veterans services that year. That is 6 times more than the next closest veterans charity.
Once they started down the road of, well, they spend too much on fundraising, they spend too much on admin, then it was, let's cast a wider net and see what else we can find. So this producer for CBS News somehow gets my wife's cell phone and begins calling her to do an interview and starts to make allegations that the apartment my wife's in is owned by the charity, which of course is completely false, that she's about to get evicted and how horrible that might be. And so what happened then, the work we're doing to help people has been so mischaracterized that apparently somebody actually was going to travel across multiple states and come find me in my house and come shoot me.
Do you realize that there are probably 20,000, maybe 30,000 charities that serve vets? Not one of them, not one, does the work that WWP does.
Wounded Warrior Project represented 40% of private philanthropy in the United States for veteran services. Huge part of the infrastructure. But as a result of that reporting, Wounded Warrior's revenues dropped by half, dropped by $200 million the next year, and they've still not recovered. And those reporters moved on to their next stories. They don't have to deal with the aftermath of $200 million being lost for veterans in 1 year. And they're sure as hell not going to make up the difference.
I was on the phone with the board chair I was supposed to come in and present them with a 90-day plan on what next steps were in terms of rebuilding donor trust. And then when I got to what was supposed to be this board meeting, instead of just being greeted by the board, I was greeted by the board and their attorneys. And they sat me down and said, we've made a decision. We're going to make a management change, and we're going to move in a different direction, and the attorneys have some paperwork for you, and this is not open to debate. And then I was ushered out the door.
The 2 top executives of the Wounded Warrior Project were fired today.
I don't care if it's raising hundreds of millions of dollars. If it doesn't have the seal of approval that makes me feel good from the watchdog agencies that says this is a good charity with low overhead, even though it's helping enormous numbers of people, let's kill it.
I just want people to understand that businesses that are focused on creating a change, creating an impact, serving a cause are still, in fact, businesses. Therefore, you still have the same operating costs in many of these types of businesses.
But we've all been taught that charities should spend as little as possible on overhead things like fundraising under the theory that, well, the less money you spend on fundraising, the more money there is available for the cause. Well, that's true if it's a depressing world in which this pie cannot be made any bigger. But if it's a logical world in which investment in fundraising actually raises more funds and makes the pie bigger, then we have it precisely backwards, and we should be investing more money, not less, in fundraising, because fundraising is the one thing that has the potential to multiply the amount of money available for the cause that we care about so deeply.
You want to know why charities haven't changed the world? That's not what we asked them to do. What we asked them to do was keep your overhead and your salaries low. So guess what they did? That's what they did.
And the way I usually talk about it to a donor is to say, look, if I can tell you that our overhead is 3%, but we haven't ended hunger anywhere, compared to if I tell you our overhead is about 36%. But we've actually ended hunger in 40 of the 50 states, and we'll get to the next 10 over the next 10 years. What's the better deal for you as a donor? What's the better investment?
The media doesn't understand that that's actually a best practice for growing, and they call it corrupt. And so the general public starts to get these ideas that all of these charities are corrupt. When I lost everything in 2002, it was a very lonely and dark time.
So, what got you out of it?
Jimmy and the kids.
That's what brought me out of it.
This is about a year after Alan died, and I was ready to meet someone. And unbeknownst to me, Jimmy was going to cater an AIDS fundraiser, and I was going to speak. So Jimmy was the caterer, and I was the speaker, which is kind of how our life is today. And I was flustered, and I said, would you like to go out to dinner? And he said, sure, when? And I said, well, tonight? Because, it was hors d'oeuvres. And he said, well, as you can see, I'm kind of busy here. I'm catering this whole thing. So we went out to Little Door
in Los Angeles, and we spent 2 hours, and Danny asked me questions about myself for 2 hours straight, and so I was hooked.
And one of the questions I asked him was, do you want to have kids? And he said, ask me again when I'm 40. And we've been together ever since. And right about the age of 40, I guess, maybe a little bit, I said, let's have kids.
We ended up going through a lot of different avenues to try to have kids. International adoption, and then we tried a LA County adoption, and then we tried a private lawyer adoption.
Like 3, almost maybe 4 years into disappointment, and Jimmy was ready to throw in the towel, and I was pretty emotionally down about it. We found this wonderful surrogate. She called us after her first ultrasound and said, you better get a bigger car. And it was such a wonderful day. And we said, why? She said, because they detected 3 heartbeats. And we saw all 3 of them born, and our lives changed dramatically. I mean, it was chaos. You'd have the 2 little rocker baby things that you'd be doing 2 of them with your hands and 1 of them with your foot to keep the 3 of them from stopping crying if one of the 2 of us went out. Jimmy was constantly washing bottles. And we had a triplet stroller, and we had a double stroller and a single stroller. If we traveled, we had to bring their plastic fence with them. We had to get the three of them through security. They had to take their little shoes off. You had to make sure they didn't run off somewhere. No, sit there. Why on a hot August day you're wearing a hat? The physicality of triplets early on was really overwhelming. And sometimes Jimmy and I would get at one another's throats, and every once in a while, one of us would have the presence of mind to say, look, we're two guys raising infant triplets. It's hard. When people tell me you just can't change the way people think about charity, I think, oh yeah?
You know, we have changed the way people think about seatbelts and about smoking and about women having the right to vote. We have crushed old ideas about the 4-minute mile and civil rights and slavery. Things can change.
When Dan Pallotta came to TED, it was surprising actually what happened there, because on the face of it, the message he was presenting, that was a very unlikely candidate for a successful TED Talk.
It was a terrifying experience leading up to it because I was the last talk, so I had 4 days to sit there and psych myself out at how good all these other TED Talks were, and mine was going to be horrible. And I was watching like the woman who discovered the giant squid underwater, and she had high definition video of a squid the size of a 3-story house, and these 3 brothers who were banjo prodigies. I mean, just all this interesting stuff. And I'm thinking, a TED Talk on the economics of the nonprofit sector is going to go over like a lead balloon. I want to go home.
I want to talk about how the things we've been taught to think about giving and about charity and about the nonprofit sector are actually undermining the causes we love and our profound yearning to change the world. But before I do that, I want to ask if we even believe that the nonprofit sector has any serious role to play in changing the world.
If you had asked most people ahead of that talk what they thought about a typical charity, they'd have said, yeah, you shouldn't pay the executive director too much. Yeah, too much overhead is bad. At the end of the talk, not only did they think, actually, these are much more important issues than I ever imagined, their minds were actually changed. And yeah, I think ever since then, I've heard multiple stories of how people have rethought their approach to nonprofit change. It was the huge ripple effects from that one moment.
At the YWCA Metropolitan Chicago, and we have this amazing mission to eliminate racism and empower women. And we've been doing that. We're 140 years old. I love to say that because then it makes me look so young. We're 140 years old. When I first started at the YWCA Metropolitan Chicago, we were about a $10 million-ish business, but we were experiencing about $1 million deficit year over year. I couldn't understand or really reconcile how we could be doing such amazing work, but yet we weren't successful relative to being able to maintain our financial position. And so for me, it was like, it wasn't the work was bad, the business model didn't work. And I think it was probably within the next year or so, I'd seen this video by Dan Pallotta that talked about how we look at charities are all wrong. Those were exactly the levers that we needed to really explore to really solve our problems.
I grew up around tables of people figuring out how to raise the resources for really important work. My grandfather, my father, my mother, they were all incredibly talented and brilliant people who applied most of their talents toward mission-driven work. It had a heroic quality to me. I could tell that people admired my father. And when I got to college, my dad would come up and visit, and my friends who were interested in environmental studies, and my dad's a career conservation litigator. And when you watched, like, you know, other 18-year-olds turn and go, your dad is a goddamn rock star, you know what I mean? Oh my God, I want to like intern for him. When your friends want to intern for your father, that's pretty cool. And so I had abundant examples around me in my own family of the cool factor in doing that kind of work.
I moved to New York City at 18 to rebel against a very Christian conservative background and became a club promoter. Worked at 40 different nightclubs here. Smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I had a drug habit, I had a gambling habit, I had a pornography habit. After 10 years, I hated my life and asked the question, what would the opposite look like? And the only idea I had at the time was 1 year of humanitarian service.
I could tell you things in my life that have happened that people would label sort of non-positive. You know, my mom was poor and that she had kids early, and because she had kids early, she wasn't able to fulfill whatever it is that she wanted to do in her life. So there's that narrative. But there's also a narrative that yes, my mom had us early. We had so much joy in our household. The woman keeps us laughing. She enrolled me in Head Start because we were income qualified. So I started school when I was 3. I fell in love with school. I became a math whiz, loved accounting.
I grew up in Liberia. There was a civil war that happened when I was 9. My family was resettled here in the United States. I went back to Liberia about 15 years ago, and when I got home, things were pretty devastated. I mean, we had just 51 doctors left after the Civil War. And we had seen a massive influx of people with HIV and AIDS. It wasn't that the medicines weren't available in the country. They were sitting in a warehouse, unused, because there were no physicians to provide the care in rural areas.
I joined a medical humanitarian mission. And I'm in a country with no electricity, no running water, no sewage system. And I'm watching children die of diarrhea because they're drinking from swamps. And my heart just broke. Everything changed in one instant. Water was it was gonna be my thing. So the mission would be, we're gonna go around the world and through a variety of different solutions, we're gonna deliver clean and safe drinking water in a sustainable way. I had the advantage of having no philanthropic experience. So I was just talking to everyday people that worked at MTV or VH1 or Sephora or Chase Bank. And I realized when I started that there was this huge distrust among my friends with charities.
I've been involved for like 20 years with this really great community-based conservation and economic development organization in Kenya called the Maasai Wilderness Conservation Trust. We were looking for a more dynamic way to raise money. So we had this idea to run the New York Marathon because running is really intrinsic to the Maasai culture. And then we went to look for doing online fundraising, and we were very, very dissatisfied with what we found.
It was May 2007. My wife and I were getting married in June of that year. And we asked if folks attending our wedding would, instead of giving us registry gifts, would provide money to help us launch a nonprofit. We raised $6,000, and that was the budget for our first year. A year after, we ran out of money. We then ended up going to whatever funding capital we could find, and all of it was restricted financing. What that means is that you can't use that money to hire a chief financial officer. You can't use that money to pay the CEO's salary. You can't use that money to pay for the warehouse you might need to store the medicines. You've got to put all that money, 100% of it, completely in the hands of patients.
One of the observations I think we can make across nonprofit organizations is they are generally starved for money. When there's plenty of money out there on the sidelines, philanthropic money.
We have enough food, we have enough sunlight, we have enough power, we've got enough resources. Let's start to have a massive laboratory with models and with diagrams that show us what a world that works for everyone is going to look like and how all the different pieces of it intersect. The most incredible things are possible. Let's paint that picture. Let's begin to design it.
This is where the early planning is taking place for our so-called...
On Sunday nights, Walt Disney used to have this program called The Wonderful World of Disney. And sometimes on The Wonderful World of Disney, he would show you his plans for Epcot. And he would take you into a studio, and there were models and there were maps, and he would show you what Disney World was going to look like. And you got very excited and you wanted to go to this place. And we need someone to show us what world could look like.
We need to do the sci-fi imagining so that people can come up with the solutions that we can't yet imagine.
If you look at Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, or Attack of the Clones, or the Marvel movies like Thor or Black Panther, you see these beautiful, futuristic, modern cities that they've built.
I think James Cameron's Avatar, one of the things I love about it was the beauty of what integration looks like.
Like, the most incredible things are possible. We're dreaming creatures. We want to achieve impossible things. We're the only species that does that. Human beings are born to test the limits of their potential, and there's something tender, vulnerable, and beautiful in that, and it's the thing, perhaps beyond love in their children, that human beings most respond to. If you immerse yourself in what we did for Apollo, you can't look at any of these social problems and say they're vexing and they're beyond human comprehension and the ability of human beings to solve. If we put that kind of resolve into it, if we set deadlines and we're serious about them, we could solve all of these problems. But the nonprofit sector can't be a bit player in that. Here's an important fact. NASA didn't build anything. NASA didn't build the Saturn V. It didn't build the lunar module. It coordinated all of the builders. NASA was overhead. At its peak, NASA had 30,000 employees coordinating stuff. So we need coordinating entities.
Government has a role, business has a role.
And who's going to figure out how to prove what works? It's going to be nonprofits.
They can take risks. They can innovate in different ways. They can be closer to the people that are being served.
Really, really helpful.
We are bridging gaps. We are connecting what the government's doing with what industry is doing. Otherwise, nobody's connecting it.
We need to let philanthropy and nonprofits power that collaboration by taking big bets, big risks.
And that means investing boldly, investing more freely, investing in the people.
One of my favorite quotes is by Bucky Fuller that says, you don't change things by fighting the existing reality. You create new models that make the old models obsolete. So for me, it was redefining what was the value the YWCA had. We know that there's value to the marketplace in healing people from the trauma of sexual assault. We know there is value in the marketplace for educating children in the 0 to 5-year-old frame. There's been studies that have proven that. We know that there is value in women participating fully in the economy, in the marketplace. And so in taking that type of approach, we really wanted to tap into all types of resources so that we can really move the needle on those issues. I was thinking that we should use every tool available to us. And that included tools that are not necessarily specific to the nonprofit sector. The YWCA, in partnership with Impact Shares, which is a nonprofit investment advisor, which literally is the first of its kind, launched a women's empowerment exchange-traded fund on the New York Stock Exchange. We get to partner with companies that are absolutely doing the best things that they can to empower women. And at the same time, we receive the investment advisory fees. So on both sides, we get an opportunity to benefit from the exchange-traded fund. This is when we advertised on the cover of Time. Of course, the ticker is up with women, but then it's down with all the atrocities women experience, like abuse, like inequity, like pay gap, harassment, all of these things.
I had a couple big ideas. The first was to just separate the overhead completely from the programs. So programs meaning people getting clean water, direct funding of water solutions. And then overhead being the staff, the flights, the phone bills, the office rent. Literally, I opened 2 bank accounts and said, we're gonna run them separately so that I can go out to the public and say, you can't use the excuse of, oh, the overhead might be a little too high. And then I would take it upon myself to try and convince a group of people to purely pay for overhead. We have built an overhead program called The Well. And there are 135 families and entrepreneurs that give big money. The people that are funding this program, they're the founders of Spotify and Twitter and Facebook. They all understand that you need the very best people to execute whatever your mission is. Now, opening 2 bank accounts isn't sustainable for most charities. But what I've learned is the donors are absolutely open to supporting overhead if they understand the needs of the organization. We built our own microsite for the Maasai Marathon team. The circle of us who had built that page kind of looked at each other and said, you know, we could make this an open source platform. And I remember sitting there and thinking, if we turned donors who give us $200 a year into micro engines of raising $2,000 a year, the impact for the organization would be transformative. What we call the crowdfunding phenomenon. It certainly was broken open into public consciousness by Kickstarter. We built CrowdRise sort of in the coattails because they weren't doing charitable crowdfunding, and so we kind of picked up that thread. CrowdRise raised over $500 million in donations that averaged about $80. And then we merged it with another great platform called GoFundMe. We've realized that there's incredible capacity in crowd-sourced movements.
Right now is the official start of the Audacious Project. The Audacious Project emerged as a response to just seeing, could you invite social entrepreneurs to frame their biggest dream, the idea that would actually take people's breath away, assuming for a minute that money was no object, and introduce them to groups of donors who could listen to them and then come in together.
Fast forward to 2011, we're one of the privileged nonprofits that happened to get selected by the Audacious Project. We are going to fund you based on the results you are producing in the world. It's up to you how to build the best corporation to deliver the impact. We want to see how many lives you're saving. We want to see how many patients you're reaching. And that completely transformed. The lid on the jar felt like it got lifted.
Imagine if your job were to give away upwards of $500 million a year trying to make the world a better place.
It's a big deal that 60 Minutes interviewed Darren Walker.
Walker believes that philanthropy needs a major rethink.
To have the head of the Ford Foundation making a bold statement.
It is both arrogant and ignorant to believe that you can give money to an organization for your project and not be concerned about the infrastructure that makes your project possible.
Human beings are, at the end of the day, while they may be stubborn, ultimately they have common sense. Ultimately, we can create the kind of world we want to live in, and we can change our dysfunctional attitudes about charity inherited from the Puritans. Those people are all dead. They were great people. They gave us a great foundation, but their attitudes about charity were not conducive to solving 21st century problems. And we absolutely can.
This is the Impact Shares YWCA Women's Empowerment ETF. It's sort of the second gender diversity type ETF on the market.
So it's exciting to go to the New York Stock Exchange for our celebration event. One of the security guards actually told us that this is the most women that he's ever seen at the New York Stock Exchange, which is fabulous.
This was my name badge, and then Chicago Board of Trade, they made my name a ticker, which was DOOR.
The fund is actually in the top 1 percentile of large cap blended funds. I make no qualms about this. I actually want us to be a social enterprise empire. I want to grow as big as it takes to solve these problems.
After President Biden and Vice President Harris were elected, I got a call asking if I'd lead the president's malaria initiative. I was humbled and honored because I had malaria several times as a kid. And in fact, at that time, about 1 million children were dying from it every single year. And we know how to test and treat and prevent it. So that's what's been exciting about this, is it was a chance to end it through working with the United States government.
GoFundMe is essentially one of the largest charitable instruments in the world, $3.5 billion annually. which is on par with what the Gates Foundation donates annually, is donated through GoFundMe.
So we've now raised over $400 million, 10 million people served. We're gonna help bring clean drinking water to everyone in the world. Not a million people, not make a little dent in the problem. We just need to go faster. So now we've put out a vision of raising $1 billion to help the next 25 million people.
It's all about showing up. It's all about taking a stand, using the personal power and agency you have.
That pushback, that refusal to wait for permission, that refusal to accept what you're doing in a certain way, you just have to keep blowing it apart, blowing it apart, blowing it apart.
I know that as we get older and more sophisticated, or particularly in the nonprofit sector, you can be marginalized for talking about dreams. Dreams are silly. Dreams are sophomoric. They're unserious. They're unsophisticated. But if you think about it, dreams are the precise opposite of that. If you look at the sophistication of the civil rights movement.
Because I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
You look at the Apollo program and the sophistication of that.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
6, 5, 4, 3.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
I've been laughed at with the whole world looking on. Your whole idea about charity is messed up. You got to worry about money contaminating people's motives. Your AIDS rides didn't send enough money to charity, and it's painful. And then it becomes sort of an indicator that you're on the right path.
So the next time you're looking at a charity, don't ask about the rate of their overhead. Ask about the scale of their dreams, their Apple, Google, Amazon scale dreams. Our generation does not want its epitaph to read, "We kept charity overhead low." We wanted to read that we changed the world, and that part of the way we did that was by changing the way we think about these things.
We're trying to create something that we can't even imagine yet. A world where people have what they need and use their talents in a way that they couldn't even imagine.
The bigger that vision is, the more people it allows to say, I can stand for that, I will fight for that, or I'll pay the overhead for that, I'll help build the organization to meet that need.
We will be investing in dreams to make change.
Imagine living in a world where there's nobody that's homeless. Everybody has a home, and a decent one.
A world free of cancer.
Imagine living in a world where suicide is rare.
With healthcare within reach of every last person on earth.
A world with equal opportunities for people of color and women.
A world where everybody has an education.
Where people are able to participate in a marketplace where everyone can thrive.
Imagine living in a world where people aren't hungry, where there isn't domestic violence because the organizations that know how to deal with that have addressed it at scale.
Imagine the really great thing that you actually could achieve.
Because when I'm talking to people, heads are nodding.
Who cares what the overhead is if these problems are actually getting solved? If we can have that kind of generosity, and if that can be our generation's enduring legacy, that we took responsibility for the thinking that had been handed down to us, that we revisited it, we revised it, and we reinvented the whole way humanity thinks about changing things forever. Well, I thought I would let the kids sum up what that would be.
That would be a real social innovation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. folks fight for justice and peace. Fight without bullets or guns. Fight without cover or sleep. And die before their causes are won. Some folks fight for kids on the street. Bring water where there was none. Help folks with nothing to eat. Die for their causes are one. Beyond their eyes their lives are ruled. If we got grace enough to see, we're all despair and our unanswered prayers turn into all of our dreams. Don't need to think a new thought. Don't need the beliefs you believed. Don't need the teachings they taught. Don't need permission to lead.
So let us be all on our way. Sister, it isn't too soon.
Brother, it isn't too late. We come from people who walked on the moon. Beyond the rising light. If we had grace enough to see, if we had grace enough to see, we're all despair and our unanswered prayers turn into all of our dreams. Sometimes I see all of our dreams. Picture comes into my mind.
Everyone has what they need.
Bells ringing all of the time.
It came fast to me when I was young.
More than a hope or a prayer.
A song that was already sung in a place that was already there.
Beyond
So what if you're wrong? You took a stand. Sing out loud. Who cares if they get it? If you fall flat, get up and fix it. This is your life. Make it count. Turn it up. Go on and live out loud. Who knows if tomorrow? Why wait for tomorrow?
Do it like that. Two-step, then I bring it right back. They wonder how I do it like that. Two-step, then I bring it right back. They wonder how I do it like that. Two-step, then I bring it right back. They wonder how I do it like that. 7 fit flex on the checks on that.